Ahead and click record. All right. Well, thank you both for joining me today. I'm a former educator, so I love this. I'm so excited to get to teach something. I'm like, that's still something I really enjoy doing. And I always like to bring value to agents, whoever I'm working with, and just making sure that, I'm partnering with them to help them grow their business in any way that I can. So excited to host this today that will hopefully give you some helpful information as you're navigating Instagram and social media, which is a whole other component of this business, right? That that takes up our time and energy. But first things first, Instagram is definitely no longer optional. It's where people are going to decide whether or not you feel trustworthy, consistent, knowledgeable, and relatable. And so today we're going to break down how Instagram can actually work for you without having to become, an influencer, so to speak, or, dancing at your listings or spending hours editing video. So let's see, why is it doing that? Oh, okay, there we go. So before we talk about content or strategy, we need to understand something really important about today's consumer, and that is 97% of buyers are actually beginning their journey online before they ever reach out to an agent. So that's probably not shocking. It's the world that we live in, but here's the part that most agents actually underestimate. 70% or more of those consumers will actually research you online before they ever reach out. So 70% of your buyers are doing that. They'll Google you, they're going to check your social media profiles, and for the majority, that includes Instagram. For me, I know that's where I tend to like live the most. I do have Facebook as well. For me, I will say Facebook has not been, big for me as far as like gathering, getting a lot of engagement or followers or, things going on over there. Instagram has been mainly where I live right now. But it's quietly become one of the top places that consumers go to for a trust check. So they're looking to see, is this person real? Do I like how they explain things? Do they show up consistently? I will tell you, sometimes I go on realtor profiles on Instagram because, that's my job is to go on there and check you guys out, reach out to you, introduce myself, things like that. And I'll see some realtor profiles that haven't had a post in like 6 months. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if they're still doing this. You know what I mean? It makes me wonder, are they still actually, working in this industry? Or are they just taking a break? Things like that. So showing up consistently is key because you would hate for a buyer to go to your profile and ask themselves that question and skip you over for another realtor who's more active on their Instagram. They're going to look at your tone. Can they trust your tone? Do I know, can I get a sense of what it is they specialize in? What type of buyers are they, working with? So if your profile is outdated, inactive, or unclear, they're probably not going to reach out. They're going to move on. The other thing is they're not just researching you or homes that they want to buy. They want to understand the experience. So nowadays with, ChatGPT and all the ways that buyers can understand the home buying process, there's lots of, avenues for that, but they want to know, is my realtor going to, make this experience clear for me from start to finish? Am I going to know what to expect? So, having posts that really, explain the home buying process, position you as someone of authority in that, and just kind of guiding your buyers through the home buying process is things that they are going to want to see when they come visit your profile. So let's talk a bit about why staying ahead of Instagram updates really matters. This is where a lot of folks online, using Instagram for their small business miss the mark. So Instagram is evolving constantly. They actually just announced a whole new change to their algorithm about 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to cover that at the end of today's presentation. But the biggest shift that we've seen up until now is that they're rewarding creators who adopt new features early. So every time Instagram introduces something new, either reels, real topics, notes, suggested posts, broadcast channels, they want people to use it, and they're going to reward the profiles that are using it. It's how they test their features and how they gathered their data. So who do they boost while they test? The early adopters. So that means agents who are paying attention to these updates are going to get massive visibility advantage over the ones who don't. So, if you see these types of features that become available to you on your account, kind of play with them and test them out because Instagram's going to like that and it's going to push your content out. So Over the past year, they've added a handful of features that make it easier for you to get discovered by buyers. So I'll break down in plain English like how these work and why they matter to you. So real topics. I want to put a little asterisk beside this one because I'm still waiting on this feature myself. I don't know if you guys might have it on your Instagram, but when you post a reel, they have made it to where you can actually choose a category before you post. So home buyer tips, real estate education, market insights. You can kind of, assign a category to that reel. And why that matters for real estate agents is if you create a reel about navigating inspections and you choose real estate advice, Instagram now knows the category and the audience that you want that reel to be shown to. And so you're helping the algorithm essentially do its job. And so this is how your content actually gets matched with people who are already consuming home buying content or home selling content. So this is kind of a help me help you situation with Instagram, right? So the more clarity you give it, the more discovery you're going to get on your profile. And again, I'm still waiting on that. If you want to check your Instagram, maybe if you go to post a reel and see if you have that option. I actually sent an email to their help desk to ask, hey, I don't have this feature. So I'll keep you all posted if I hear anything back on that one. But suggested posts. So this is Instagram's way of putting your content in front of people who don't follow you yet. So I'm sure when you're scrolling on Instagram right now, you're seeing so many posts in your feed that you're like, I don't know where this came from. I don't follow this person. Why is this here? Well, that is what suggested posts do. So someone that doesn't follow you, if the algorithm is pushing your content is going to show up on their feed, even if they don't already follow you. And that's how you get discovered. And if they like what they see, they're going to go to your profile and decide whether or not to click that follow button. So, and it's huge for agents because Instagram actually looks at users in your geographic area who are engaging in real estate type content. And so it pushes your post to them because you want to reach people here in your local audience. And so those suggested posts really live mostly in the main feed and in the reels you swipe through. So it's Instagram's way of introducing your content to brand new people, which we want it to do. And it's one of the fastest ways to grow your visibility into 2026 without having to run ads. And so we'll talk about notes next. Notes are these tiny little bubbles at the top of a DM box. So if you go to Instagram and you open up your messages or your DMs, you're going to see at the top a list of people that you recently engaged with. And on above their profile photo, you're going to see a little bubble, like a little thought bubble. And that's where you can put notes. And so it's kind of something that someone would see and it keeps you kind of top of mind, right? So they only show these notes to people you're going to engage with the most via DM, maybe someone a warm audience, right, that you've been recently talking to, but your note is sitting right at the top every time they go to their DMs and they're going to see that. So I put, little things on mine sometimes like, hey, I'm available today for questions. If you have if you're shopping for homes and you have questions, send me a message, just little things, or you can maybe put a quote, just something to keep you top of mind and relevant. If you're showing homes, you could even put on your notes showing homes today in Hutto or whatever it may be. So just something to keep you top of mind. And then there's also broadcast channels. So these are Instagram's version of a one-way group chat. So people can join your channel, and every time you share something, a tip, a little quick update, a story, or a market update, whoever joins your channel is going to get notified. And so why this matters is it's a high trust space. Only your most engaged followers are usually going to join this, which means you're speaking to your warmest audience. And so think of it like a VIP list on Instagram. It's going to help deepen that loyalty, which leads to real conversations and eventually real business. And then there's also the improved search feature. So believe it or not, Instagram, people can just search on Instagram now in the search bar. It doesn't have to be hashtag based. And so, they read keywords that is tied to your post. So whether that's words that you put on inside of your reel or in your caption. So let's say you say homebuyer tips, either somewhere in your caption, or if you're speaking, put it on your screen and as you're speaking into your video. I always recommend use captions if you post a video of you speaking because that helps Instagram also recognize who your audience is. But Instagram would understand your topic, indexing your content the same way that Google does. And this is how you're going to show up when people type in how to buy a home or, real estate market update, selling tips, real estate questions. So you don't need a massive following to rank in the search algorithm on Instagram. You just need clear keywords and consistent messaging. So let's talk about a creator account, and you'll notice there's a QR code there. You can actually scan that, and it will give you instructions on how to switch your profile if it's not already to a creator account. This is one of the easiest wins for agents right now. So a lot of people don't realize that your account type actually affects how Instagram distributes your content. If you're using a personal account, Instagram can't tell if you're a business, a creator, or just someone who posts for fun. So the algorithm doesn't know how seriously to take you. And when you switch to a creator account, you're basically saying, hey, Instagram, I create content and consistently, and I want you to categorize me correctly. So here's why that matters. It's going to get you better analytics. So you can actually see when your audience is online, where they're located, and which posts Instagram is pushing. So you're going to get also more search and categorization tools, things like real topics, account categories, keywording. And so I'm wondering if that's also why I don't have real topics yet, because I had just switched mine over to Creator a couple weeks ago. So it might take a while for that update to show once you switch over to Creator. So again, you're going to get access to any new features that Instagram is prioritizing. So anytime they push out those new tools like notes, broadcast channels, suggested posts, that is going to be more heavily geared towards creator accounts first, meaning you have opportunity for more reach right away. Your DMs will also get organized. So creator accounts have primary, general, and request inboxes. So, it makes it easier for you to manage your leads, client conversations, and any referrals that you might get through Instagram. But basically, your creator account tells Instagram that you're a consistent educator. So when they see consistency, it rewards you with more visibility, especially in that suggested post category and in the search. So switching to a creator account is literally one of the easiest ways to help Instagram understand who you help and what your content is about. Does anybody have any questions about anything so far? I forgot to say, I have so much content to cover, but feel free to stop me at any time if you have a question.
Is a professional account the same as the creator account?
So there's two types of professional accounts. One is professional entrepreneur and one is professional creator. And so I actually, because I was, I think, under the entrepreneur category before and I had to switch it. And so did you scan that QR? Did you get to scan that QR code?
I
Okay.
did.
Okay, perfect. It should take you through. It took me a minute. Like I was really searching to try to find out where do I go to switch over. So if you can't find it, let me know. I'm happy to help you.
Okay.
But I think I finally got mine switched. I just haven't seen some of the new tools yet. It might take a bit though, once you switch over. So, let's talk about the algorithm, right? This word is thrown around all the time, and who's confused by it, right? Like, I think we all are, even, no matter how long you've been on social media. But ultimately, an algorithm is a system that decides what to show you when you're scrolling online, right? So the content that you frequently interact with and engage with, that's the type of content it's going to continue showing you. But on the flip side, it also decides who to show your content to. So, Instagram's algorithm in 2026 is built around one main goal, and that is to show people content that they want to see before they even ask for it. So, it's trying to just predict interest, and it does this through two major lenses. Who does this content belong to? What is this content actually about? And if Instagram can figure out the answer to both of those questions, your content will get pushed. But if it can't, your reach is going to be limited. So let's talk about the who. So Instagram studies behavior and not followers. So whoever interacts with you the most on your profile, that is Instagram saying, oh, this is an ideal viewer. So even if you have not defined who your ideal viewer is, it's going to base it off of who's interacting with your posts. So your warm audience isn't just engagement, it's literally the data Instagram uses to find you new people. So let's talk about the what. So Instagram is constantly reading, listening, and analyzing everything that you post. If your content is all over the place, Instagram doesn't know what category to put you in. So it can't match you with the right audience. But when your messaging is consistent, for example, if you often talk about buyers local market updates, or navigating the home buying process, Instagram is going to file you under that category, which helps you show up again in that search feature, suggested posts, local recommendations, exploring, explore on the explore page. And so you might, like this type of content lanes is where agents get discovered. But you want to make sure that your messaging stays consistent throughout because that's how Instagram is going to categorize you and decide who to show your content to. So, how Instagram predicts who will actually like your content, they're not paying attention, or they are paying attention to behavior, not vanity metrics, right? So, what that actually means in a way that makes sense is Instagram's going to look at the people who interact with you the most. These are people who consistently like your post, watch your stories, rewatch or watch your reels all the way through. That's another key is you want to hook your buyers in the beginning so they watch your full reel because Instagram rewards you when your reel is watched for more than 2 seconds. So if they scroll off of your reel in 2 seconds or less, it tells Instagram that that's not an engaging enough post to show folks. So anyone who's saving your carousels, DMing you questions, tagging your profile photo, replying, like if you post a question box in your stories, whoever replies there, or whoever's hearting your stories, or sharing your content, that is who Instagram is going to decide is your engaged audience. So then they're going to use the behavior of that engaged audience to decide who else should then see your posts, even if they're total strangers. So why this matters is your likes don't determine your reach. Everyone thinks, oh, I have to get a ton of likes on this post so it can get pushed to other people. That's not necessarily true. Your followers also don't determine your reach. It's your relationship with your warm audience. Again, that's folks that are actually engaging with your content. That is what is going to determine your reach. So Instagram is basically saying, if the people closest to you love your content, we'll go find more people exactly like them. So the more you nurture that warm group through stories, polls, simple reels, relatable posts, answering DMs, that's important too, the more the algorithm understands who you're trying to reach. And so, here's an example to make it click. If your warmest audience watches videos about first-time homebuyer questions or market updates or homeownership tips, Instagram begins to assume, oh, these are the themes people respond to. So let me find more people watching similar content and show them this creator account. So when that happens, you just unlocked the discovery engine. And so this is how agents with a couple of hundred followers end up getting thousands of views because their warm audience told Instagram what topics they actually care about. And so one more important thing to add to that is Instagram pays attention to your warm audience first. If they don't stop and watch, Instagram will not push it any further. So this is why your hook matters, your topic matters, your consistency for sure matters, and your clarity. So the algorithm is testing people, is testing your content with your closest people first before sending it out into the wild and beyond for new people to discover you. So Instagram doesn't guess who likes your content. It actually studies your engaged audience and uses them to model who else should see you. And the content Instagram is loving right now, it's different every week. I'm not going to lie to you, but they've gotten really smart about understanding how people want to consume content, and more importantly, what keeps them on the platform, right? Because ultimately, Instagram wants people on Instagram scrolling on their platform, and they're going to feed people whatever they like and love to make sure that that happens. So the types of posts Instagram pushes the hardest right now all have one thing in common. They feel natural, useful, and they make sense instantly. If your post doesn't make sense instantly to someone on your viewer, like your follower, or to Instagram, it's not going to reward you for it because it doesn't understand, I guess, the messaging behind what you're trying to post or say and who to send it to or who to show it to. So also human content is becoming very much more pushed by Instagram. So that just means like the real stuff, right? Imperfect stuff. A lot of people think that their videos have to be perfect with perfect lighting and they have to have, makeup on and hair done and all the things. But it's actually those human moments that make people feel like they actually know you the most. Even if you're driving in your car in your baseball cap on your way to your son's baseball game, maybe you're talking to your camera while you're driving about a buyer question. Maybe a buyer asked you a really good question that day, and you're like, you know what? Maybe other buyers need to hear the answer to this too. Maybe it's showing you walking into a showing or grabbing coffee between appointments, giving a quick, win that you had this week. Instagram is going to push that content because human content builds more connection. And connection keeps people scrolling. And for agents, this is pure gold. So people don't choose the most polished agent. You don't have to show up on Instagram completely polished all the time. They are going to choose the one who feels most approachable, and your buyers will too. So keep that in mind when you're creating content. And then also relatable content. So this is moments where someone scrolls and goes, "Oh my gosh, same," right? Like, have you ever had that moment where you're, and that usually happens when your algorithm starts to understand what you like. Because my algorithm on my personal account is all like boy mom stuff, right? And how I'm a mom of teenagers, so it's a lot of like, oh, how to let go in this season of parenthood, right? And it really speaks to me. It resonates with me, so I watch more of it. I mean, show yourself in the chaos of juggling work and family because your buyers are also in the middle of that too. The reality of a busy week with client showings, but also you had to do stuff with your kiddos. Maybe they had school projects, maybe they had lots of activities that week. Whatever it is, show that, you're juggling lots of things too, but you're also still prioritizing, of course, your buyers. But your commentary on something every buyer might be thinking, or seller is thinking right now. You guys know what your buyers and sellers are saying to you. So share some commentary on that with your buyers. Just raw, try not to make it filtered or ChatGPT scripted. A lot of people they notice that now because ChatGPT stuff is just all over the place, right? And you can usually tell a post that is created by ChatGPT or the caption or whatever. They want to feel like you're real, relatable, and human. So you don't always have to be scripted. Instagram is going to boost that relatable content because it sparks that emotion, and emotional engagement is incredibly powerful for reach. I don't know about you, but when I post, my mom posts, or if I post my family, I typically get more engagement on that than a real estate related post, right? Like people just want to see you and know who you are, and that content is really being pushed now. And also helpful content. This is where agents can win on social media. Helpful content is any post where someone is going to leave it thinking, that made this process clearer for me. So some examples could be, here's what's actually happening with rates right now, or three things that you need to prep before starting your home search. If you're selling in 2026, here's where you start. So helpful content is Instagram's favorite because it keeps people informed, and informed people are going to stay on the app longer. So the platform also knows consumers love educational creators. And then also searchable content. This brand new behavior on Instagram is one of the biggest opportunities this year. So that searchable content is anything Instagram can categorize because the topic is unmistakably clear. If you say the topic, you write it in the words on the screen in your reel or your carousel, whatever it may be, and you include it in your caption, Instagram knows exactly where to place your content in the algorithm. And this is how you show up when someone searches things like buying a house, market update, moving to Austin, whatever it may be. Search is going to be one of the fastest ways to get discovered by people who don't follow you yet. So make sure you're being really clear in all of the things that you're saying and the things that you're typing in your content. Also, easy to follow content, right? This content should not make it too hard, or people work too hard to understand what it's about. Short, clear, to the point. People have short attention spans, right? So make sure you're keeping that in mind. No jargon, no over-explaining, no confusing graphics. Just think one tip per post. I know a lot of people want to put tons of different ideas and tips into a post sometimes, but just try to keep it as clear and concise as possible. One idea per reel, one takeaway per carousel, kind of stay on theme and on topic. You can do step-by-step breakdowns and or simple market explainer videos. Instagram is going to boost that style because people understand it instantly. And so final takeaway is Instagram isn't looking for perfect creators. It's just looking for creators who are clear, real, helpful, and easy to understand. So if your content checks those boxes, the algorithm is going to do the heavy lifting for you, even if you have a small following right now. And so let's talk about reels that Instagram can easily rank. Again, I know I've covered a lot of this already, but just an overview, your captions should not be full of fluff. If all of your captions are being written by ChatGPT, a lot of those are very full of fluff. So try to like be clear, concise, and to the point. Try not to make them too long, but make sure you ask yourself before writing it, who's my audience for this? What do I want them to know? And what is my topic? Make sure all of that is completely clear. So there's no guessing, the hook isn't vague. You're literally telling the platform this content is for buyers who are starting their home search, right? So if that's what you want this post to be about and that's who you want your audience to be, then make sure you're telling Instagram that in all of the components of that post. Instagram loves that clarity because it makes its job easier to share your content. Also, that you're speaking words Instagram can hear. So when you say the phrase out loud, buyer or home search, buyer is a little bit kind of vague. I would say home buyer, right? Things to know before buying a home. Instagram is transcribing that behind the scenes. And so that's where those words are going to get indexed in that Google type search. Your on-screen text reinforces the topic. Again, if you are doing a talking head video, meaning you're sharing something audibly with your audience, always turn on those captions. So that way the words are showing on the screen in the video because most people will scroll Instagram without sound on. 9 times out of 10, if they're scrolling and you're talking and you don't have captions, they're just going to scroll right on by your video because they're not going to turn on sound. They're sitting at their desk or wherever they might be scrolling and they can't turn on the sound. So, just make sure that you always are speaking clearly. You have those captions and that on-screen text. And then your caption is going to anchor those keywords again. So again, it doesn't need to be long, you just need a caption that naturally repeats your topic. Something like if you're starting your home search, here are 3 things you should know before making your first move. And so when Instagram sees the same keywords in your audio, your text, on-screen text, and your caption, it now has full confidence that this reel belongs to the home buyer education category. And so the more confident the algorithm is, the more aggressively it's going to push your content and push your video. So this content solves, ask yourself, does this content solve an actual consumer problem? So Instagram actually boosts content that keeps people, again, on the platform longer. And buyer education, they know it performs well, right? People have lots of questions about home buying. They don't understand the process. And if your reel can answer a question quickly, then that content is considered useful, clear, direct, and easy to understand. So they're going to know people will watch it and they are going to show it to more people. I actually had a real estate agent friend of mine send me a message the other day because she had shared one of my posts and she said, you know, my friend really liked your post, but she said, this is what buyers actually want to know. And she sent me a long list of, how when they were buying their first home, they didn't know the answers to so many questions, specifically like how much money do they need saved up to start the home buying journey, and what does that go towards? Like what items in the home buying process are they going to need money for, such as the appraisal, the home inspection? They didn't know about any of that, and so she said these are some tips for you if you want to start sharing content around that because and the thing is your buyers don't want to reach out and ask a question right away. They want to learn from you and start to trust you, and then they're going to think, oh, I feel comfortable reaching out to this person, because a lot of consumers these days are going to wait to reach out because they know once they reach out that's when it's like really serious, right? They're like, okay, there's no turning back now, because they know you're going to be following up with them and checking in with them. So they're going to try to watch you and learn as much from you as they can, and think, oh, this is the type of person I'd like to work with before they actually click that DM button or slide in your DMs, so to speak. Um, so let's talk about carousels, and I'm actually going to give y'all 8 really great carousel templates following today's webinar that you can use instantly. Put your photo on it, your branding. You can change the text to whatever you want it to be, but they're really, really great like templates for you to start with. And so carousels are actually one of the strongest types of contents agents can use right now to, help you build that authority, that kind of that educational process of the home or the process of educating your home buyers during that process. And so carousels are actually getting pushed a lot right now. That's a static post. So it's typically a static post with text. And I'm sure you've seen it. And a lot of people are saving these. So there's typically a different, like, you know, maybe 5 tips, right, about, um, you know, what to expect when buying a home. What does the process look like? And so you can kind of break that down and put one step on each slide. And so they're scrolling through, and the key is to get them to want to scroll all the way to the end and also to save that carousel. There's um, like a ribbon right next to your post that they can save that content and come back and view it later. So saving is big. If a lot of people are saving your carousels, that tells Instagram, oh, this is something people value and they want to see, and they're going to show it to more people. So, you know, anytime someone swipes through those slides, Instagram counts that as continued engagement. So getting them swiping is a signal that your content is worth sticking around for. And these are going to feel like mini lessons, right? Not sales pitches. You're not really selling. Of course, in the end, you can say, hey, on the last slide, contact me if you have any questions. Maybe a really soft call to action, right? You don't have to tell them, hey, let's go buy a home today, but just DM me if you have any questions, or here's my number if you have questions. But you want the whole carousel to feel more educational rather than salesy. And so you want your buyer to be looking at it and say, oh, this makes sense, or wow, I've never heard it explained like that before, and I should save this. That's key. Because when I'm ready to buy a home, I want to refer back to this and potentially be able to reach out to that agent. So carousels are going to get saved more than they get liked sometimes. But saves are actually one of the highest value signals in the algorithm. And I don't think you get notified when your carousel gets saved, because I post carousels all the time and I've never gotten a notification of them being saved. So I don't know if that's an actual thing that Instagram's telling people, but they do get saved. You just might not know that they are. And also video carousels are now a thing. So it used to be a static photo with text on it. Now I'm seeing like B-roll type video. So each carousel slide has movement in the background. There's not necessarily sound, but then they're putting the text over. So it's kind of the same idea, just with video, a different video on each slide. They are actually really neat. So you want to make sure you sound like an expert without sounding like a know-it-all, right? So you don't want to lecture, you want to guide, keep everything from the perspective of guiding your buyer, breaking something down into those digestible steps. And so, again, simple tips like here's what buyers need to know if you're planning to purchase a home in 2026, or here's what's actually happening in today's market. So many people want to know, what's the market like, right? Like, our house is selling, our buyers buying, like they want to know if now is the right time. Everyone's asking themselves that. That's a common theme of people are scared. They don't know if now is the right time to buy. So educate your buyers. Maybe even just like doing local holiday events. If it's a holiday time or holiday season, here's some local events to check out. Or just, Austin, there's always so many things going on around. So doing a carousel on things happening this month. So always just kind of keep it something that's valuable to your viewer and to your buyers. Um, but yes, and then we'll talk about B-roll video. I've got so much more to cover, so I'm trying to go a little quickly, but let me know if you have any questions. So B-roll video. Do you guys know what B-roll video is? Okay, so that is like little clips that you can film on your cell phone, and they don't really necessarily have to be related to the content that you want to share alongside of it, right? So, if you're drinking a cup of coffee, maybe on your front porch, and what I did was I bought a tripod for my phone. It holds my phone, and I can just set it up over there, and I can just turn my phone on and have it record me sipping that cup of coffee. And maybe I'm going to post that B-roll video with text about interest rates, right? So it doesn't necessarily, like, coffee has nothing to do with interest rates, but it just gives that post some dynamic, it's more dynamic for your viewer. It could be you like, just walking, like I've recorded my feet walking and saying, oh, I'm on my way to meet with an agent today, or whatever it is, like, just make it a little bit more dynamic with your B-roll video versus like static posts. It's not a static picture. It's just kind of behind the scenes. Maybe even you just walking through a front door or opening a door. I did one where I opened the door and was waving, and so then you just put your text over the video. And they're really simple. If you Google B-roll video ideas for real estate agents, you're going to get a whole list of them. And honestly, what I do is I film them. Like I'll pick one day a week and I could knock out probably in 1 hour enough B-roll video on my phone for a week's worth of posts. That way you're not every single day having to think, how am I gonna, film this content today? I don't want to have to get ready, right? Maybe some days you're just like, no, I'm home. I don't want to get my makeup on, do all the things. Just try to plan it out. Like I will block a chunk of time. Typically, I'll do it on Sundays because I know I'm going to go to church, come home. I'm all made up then, so I can spend an hour really quick filming B-roll. And like I said, if you Google it, you'll get some really good ideas. But it just makes your content a bit more dynamic versus just a single picture, and that movement just captures people's attention. But what that B-roll does is it's going to also help people decide, do I like this person? Do they feel real to me? So, again, ideas could be walking into a showing, making your coffee in the morning. Maybe you're typing on your computer, things like that, touring a neighborhood, sitting in your car, driving. I do a lot of them driving in my car, and then I'll put words over it. So, that's kind of how B-roll works, but it feeds that algorithm because it's easy for people to watch. It's not something you have to overthink or your audience has to overthink. And most of the clips are typically only 4 to 8 seconds long, right? It doesn't need to be super long. And then, so yes, again, I know I've talked about this a lot. Instagram is now being used as a search platform. So make sure your answers are quick, not crazy wordy or long. Make sure it's very clear, to the point. Again, clear beats pretty. Not everything has to be pretty and aesthetic. It just make sure your content and your messaging is always very clear and consistent. And when your keywords match what someone is searching for, Instagram is going to put your reel or carousel in front of that consumer or that buyer. So again, as you're posting, as you're creating your content, a lot of people just slap things up on Instagram thinking, well, I just need to post something. But we really want to be a bit more intentional than that because we want to always keep in mind, who is our target audience? What am I trying to tell them? And how do I get them to watch or consume this? And so make sure you're always thinking those through things when you're posting. And so consumers are interacting with Instagram right now, but they're not scrolling the way that they used to. So it's a little bit different than it was. Nobody is going to sit and study your feed. They're going to skim, they're going to glance at your bio, right? So maybe your reel gets pushed out to people that don't already follow you. That person may go ahead and say, oh, I really like this video. Let me click on this person's bio or on their profile and see if I want to follow. Keep in mind, everything that they immediately see, they're skimming. They're not studying your profile. So on first glance, they have to probably decide within the first like 5 seconds, is this someone I want to follow? So make sure your bio is super clear. You don't know how many agents' profiles I go on, and I have no idea where they live. So, like, they're posting all of this real estate content, and some of them have really good content, but it takes me like 5 minutes sometimes to figure out where are they based out of because it's not clear in their bio. And so, that's the first thing I have on mine is a little pin with Austin next to it because then people know, oh, she's local. So make sure, not everything has to be perfect, but do buyers know who you are, what you do, where you're located, and how you can help them on their home buying journey? So I'm just, again, keeping things simple, clear, and helpful. And how Instagram helps small creators win. So it used to be a place where only the big kahunas, right? That those influencers, the influencer fad were the people that had, 10,000 followers or whatever, they were the only ones getting pushed, and their content was getting, shared with others. Now that era is over. Some of those influencers are upset because their content is not getting consumed as much as it used to anymore. Instagram is actually now prioritizing smaller accounts and smaller creators. And so instead of pushing popularity, it's pushing relevance. So, like I mentioned earlier and have mentioned several times, it's looking for those little simple things. Is this content helpful? Is it clear? is it a niche, right? And what is your niche? And is this something people in this area or category are going to care about? So that's amazing news for you because real estate is one of the strongest niche categories on the platform right now. Instagram actually is looking for smaller creators who consistently post. That's a key, consistently post educational content, and it's going to give you a bigger audience if you're doing those things. So it is the only platform that will literally take your content and place it in front of people in your area who don't follow you, but have been liking other real estate content. So you can't pay for reach like that. Honestly, I mean, you can pay for ads, right? I don't recommend that. I've never paid for ads, but you don't need a huge following to get real visibility on Instagram anymore, which is really great news. And so, your content plan, right? A simple rhythm wins. So try to keep in mind, a helpful carousel, one search engine focused reel, like, making that reel really clear and, answering those questions, making sure that the Instagram is going to show it to the people that you want it to be shown to, like a POV clip, maybe a POV, it's closing day and you're walking, maybe you're giving your client a gift or you're setting up a gift for a buyer who's about to close. So that's just showing people kind of like what you're doing behind the scenes, right? And then also add some stories. There's some stories in there. It's kind of a combination of your main feed and stories that are going to help you build that consistency and really then have that consistency build your reach. So let's talk about the brand new updates because these were literally just announced. And so I had to change some advice that I gave to my agents last month because I told them, hey, if you're following other real estate agents and you see them posting great content that you're like, hey, I really like this and I want to redo this, then redo it and post it on yours because Instagram was like pushing that like crazy. I mean, you could just hop on a trend, do the same thing, and your post would get a lot of views. But they've actually decided, oh, wait a minute, because I think too many of the same type of posts were circulating. I'm sure you saw like the same type of trendy post multiple times by multiple people. So Instagram has now said they're not going to push that type of content anymore. So we'll talk a bit about that. They also purged a ton of accounts. So if you actually lost followers, don't worry, it was probably bot accounts. I even lost them on my personal profile. So anyone who was a bot account or an inactive profile they did a huge purge. A lot of creators are upset because they saw their follower accounts drop, but that doesn't mean their content is going to perform worse. It's actually a positive shift because helping clean up that engagement makes your content more valuable to authentic audiences, right? We don't want to be trying to, engage with bots. Like there's no point to that. So the key takeaway is that follower count is becoming less important than meaningful engagement on the platform. And just spend your time focusing on attracting the right audience instead of chasing those vanity metrics like likes or followers. If you're spending time focusing on who is the right audience for this, then you're going to see that natural and organic growth. They also redefined original content. So this is what we were touching on a bit ago. They're going to prioritize creators who are posting original content instead of that recycled and reposted material. Now, I'm not saying reposting other people's content is bad. Like, if you want to, of course, you might not want to repost another agent's content, right? Because that's like a competitor. But if you see content that you like on Instagram and you decide, yeah, this is an account that I'd like to share it from, share it, right? But if you go and you try to recreate that, and just do the exact same thing that that person did without changing anything, and then you post it on yours, on your feed or on your story or your reel, it's not going to get pushed. So Instagram has decided that they're not going to reward creators who are doing that. They want you to add personal expertise. So maybe you like the idea, but change it a bit. Add your own opinion or your own viewpoint to it, right? Because you don't want to just carbon copy what someone else is saying or doing. Make sure you're adding value and adding your own viewpoint to it. So this means that right now on Instagram, personal brand matters more than ever before. And for real estate or lending professionals, this is an opportunity for us because local expertise and personal experience are difficult to replicate. So lean into who you are, your experience, your knowledge. Take these ideas as a template, but then put your own spin on it. Also, the insights have changed. So they've added more detailed, real insights to help you understand what impacts your views. And one of the biggest metrics right now for you to pay attention to is your skip rate, meaning how quickly people are scrolling away from your content. So that again, that makes, a hook extremely important. You want to hook your viewer in the first 1 or 2 seconds. And this is where ChatGPT can come in, right? Ask it to give you some really good hooks. Maybe you have a specific, buyer that you're wanting to target in your market. Maybe if it's first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, whatever it may be. Ask ChatGPT to give you some good hooks and ideas to make a reel, right? And so using those hooks in the beginning, don't start out by saying, "Hi, I'm Shannon Quicksaw, the lender that rocks." Boom, they're scrolling away. Like literally, by the time I can even get to the end of that, they're gone. Like you just have to go right in with your hook. And then if you ask them a question that makes them think, they're gonna say, "Oh, wait," and then they're gonna stay and listen a bit more. Shares and saves are also becoming more important because they signal that your content is valuable to your viewers. And so, content that people are sharing and sending to friends is going to get pushed by the algorithm. And the biggest takeaway is that attention spans, again, are shorter than ever. You've got to hook them immediately and you have to deliver value, right? People want something that they find valuable, and hyper-local content and niche expertise are outperforming generic posts. So, you are the expert in your, geographic area that you serve. Lean into that. Show your buyers that you are that expert, in your content. And if you're tagging the location, right? So when you're posting, I always recommend adding a location to your post, because your post, it makes it more discoverable. I kind of switch mine up. I mean, most of the time I'll tag Austin because I serve, the entire area pretty much. But I'll switch it up and do Round Rock one day, or Georgetown, or College Station, or just kind of add that tag and that location to your content as well. Um, and then finally, um, this is where I think a lot of realtors, and I know y'all are busy. Like, trust me, this feels like a whole other full-time job, right? Social media. It's not, we didn't sign up for that. Like, even as a mortgage lender, I'm like, okay, I was so done with social media last year. And then I started doing this, and I told my husband, well, I guess I have to go back to being on social media all the time again. The reality is it's a part of your strategy, but don't make it your whole strategy, right? Again, you're probably not going to find a buyer on Instagram. You might get a lead from Instagram, but you don't know what the quality is going to be, things like that. What it is it's helping you stay relevant. It's helping you stay in front of your audience. So that way, when somebody is thinking about working with you and they go to your profile, they're going to see, oh, this person is active. This person is knowledgeable. This person is educating buyers. Like this is, oh, they have dogs, or they like cats, or whatever it may be that you're posting in your content to make you feel relatable. So make sure you're staying consistent. So these are kind of some tips. One post per week. You're going to get almost zero growth doing that. And I know it feels like an extra job, but if you can just plan out your content on the weekends, like I said, I'll take an hour and just kind of, have some things ready. These carousels that I'm sending y'all, they're really helpful too, just to kind of have, and they're easy to customize and push out there. Then when you're only posting 2 to 3 times a week, it's better, but pretty much your content's only going to be seen by your current followers, so that you're not going to get that growth. When you go to 4 to 5 posts a week, the algorithm's going to start saying, okay, I kind of trust this account, right? 7 to 10 posts a week, you're going to start seeing that growth. That's where you're really going to see that consistent reach, which is going to start translating to more followers. And then 14 plus posts a week, which I know sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. That's when the algorithm is going to love you. You're going to see that explosive growth. Personally, I have been, you know, posting at least twice a day on my main feed, and I've been posting stories very consistently. I'll usually post like a static post during the day and maybe a reel later in the evening, just kind of switching up my content. I try to not make all my content the same. So if I do, just kind of like say, oh, I'll do a reel in the morning, I'll do a static post in the evening, whatever it may be, and then a story, mix some stories in throughout. Your stories are a little bit less like consequential, right? They disappear. So make that where you really show up for your audience personally, right? Like I'll post pictures of my kids. My son had a band concert last night. I posted him and I together at his band concert, or I'll post pictures of my cats fighting, or whatever it may be, right? Like that's where your personality can shine through a little bit more, and it doesn't have to be so planned. You can just be like, oh, this is something fun to share, or, and just throw it up on your stories. So all of those together matter. Just make sure you're showing up consistently because if you're not, the buyer might think, oh, well, I don't know if they're even still doing real estate, or what's going on if you haven't posted in 3 months. Um, so the key is to stay ahead, quality over quantity. You do need to post, but just make sure that you're not just slapping things up there. Make sure you're staying on brand, and really just on target for whoever it is you're trying to attract. Like ask yourself, who do I want to attract to my profile? I will give you a story. For me, do I want to attract buyers? I do, absolutely. But I also am realistic in knowing that, I want quality buyers too. I don't want to get leads that might not be the best quality. So social media can be iffy on that. So I honestly, on my Instagram, my answer to that question is, who do I want to attract? I want to attract real estate agents. I want to attract a lot of really good real estate agents that, are going to connect with me, like my content, and maybe decide to, hey, let me take a meeting with Shannon today and see if she can offer me any value, provide any value to me and my buyers, and how we could potentially explore a partnership. That to me is how I position myself for the most part on Instagram. Of course, I want to educate buyers. I want them to come to my profile and see that I'm sharing lots of good, consistent information for them. But I also, my top consumer that I want on my profile is a real estate agent. And so yours is going to obviously be a buyer, right? So make sure all of your content is catered to that. And then that's pretty much all I had for Instagram. And then I wanted to just let you guys know that next month I'm going to be hosting a webinar on ChatGPT. So, how do you make this work for you? How do you make it work for your business? You can make it like a free assistant for you in your real estate business, right? You guys have a lot going on, you're busy. And so, I want to teach you how to train your ChatGPT to understand who you are, what you do, and then you can set up, different sequences that you want it to run for you on a weekly basis, or however it is that you want to utilize it in your business to help you just be more efficient, right? Because time is valuable, and you don't want to spend more time doing tasks than you need to be doing. So I'll send out the registration link for that in the next couple of weeks. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining. I know that was quick, fast, and furious, but do y'all have any questions?
Not at the moment, but thank you so much.
Absolutely. Hopefully you guys, leave here today with something tangible, right? Like sometimes it's information overwhelmed. There's a lot, of information shared, but if it's just one thing that you can key on of like, hey, consistency is key. That's what I'm going to target this week. Don't try to do all of the things, but just pick one thing that you can do better at and start there. And then you can branch, out. Okay, now I'm better at consistency, but now I want to target a certain buyer or a certain, I want to define who my audience is and make sure all my content is being catered to that consumer. So, just take it one step at a time. You always eat an elephant one bite at a time. That's what I used to always tell my students. So, but yeah, feel free to reach out anytime I can be of support to you and your business in any way. I love to, partner with my agents, not just to help them grow. I want to, see y'all be successful and we can all grow together. So anyway, thank you so much for joining, and I'll send over those carousels shortly. Bye.